What is good, y'all? Thank you for Thank you for joining us here for the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network. Today is Tuesday, May 6th, in the year of our Lord 2025. And forgive me, I think my microphone might be, yep, there we go. All right, let's try it again. It is Tuesday, May 6th, in the year of our Lord 2025, and journalism is dead. It has been for a very, very long time, but the corpse is rotten and really, really stinking up the joint. We got some Second Amendment news, and Trump does another interview. There we go. All right. Microphone is now set up correctly. We got some Second Amendment news to get into, and Trump does another interview with the American Pravda, and he thoroughly humiliates them. So we got all that coming up, but I do want to thank you for joining us here for the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network. And you can also follow this show on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, where I've been trying to get a little more active on TikTok lately. And for our merch, head over to missionreadymen.com, shop 7 Armors, and check out all of our great designs over there. All right, y'all, we got a lot to get into. And now that we got business out of the way, let's get after it. As I said, journalism is dead. Its reanimated corpse has been stinking up the media landscape for the entire time that I've been paying attention to politics. I didn't really understand back then, and we're going back to Bush Kerry in 2000, maybe slightly before that. And one of my favorite radio hosts back then, the late Jay Severin, used to call it jahornalism. He was great. But anyway, I say reanimated now because it's just journalism now, as it in its current form, is just propaganda for the Democrat Party. We say this all the time, and it's widely known. We know it. They know it. And remember the kids in cages lie. They never once talked about how that program started under Obama. But like I said, journalism is dead. But now they've latched on to another ridiculous story. And this one, I'm sure you've heard about. And it's on its face, as it's been reported, if you were prone to just believe everything that the American Pravda said, you would think, wow, this is terrible. But of course, it's not true. It's propaganda, it's lies, and this is the story. They have been promoting the idea that a 2-year-old citizen appears to have been deported with no meaningful process. Of course, that's not true, and we're gonna get into some proof of that later. But apparently, some 2-year-old, or actually, I think it was the whole story is there was a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old child that were allegedly deported without any due process. Of course, it's their parents, the mother, that was deported, and the mother chose to take the child with her, as you would expect, right? And here is one of the key points that I want to take a look at. It says right here in this story, and this story is going to be in the show notes. You can take a look at the whole thing for yourself. But it says these actions stand in direct violation of ICE's own written and informal directives, which mandate coordination for the care of minor children with willing caretakers, regardless of immigration status, when deportations are being carried out. Okay. Who is a more willing caretaker than the child's mother? Right? Maybe the child's father is on equal footing if they're together. But if the child's mother is being deported, I can't imagine a scenario where the mother would say, no, leave him here with whoever a willing caretaker would be. Even if it is the father, come on. A loving mother is gonna take her kids with her. And that's what happened here. And Tom Homan, he actually addressed this on on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. And I really don't know how she still has a job, because she gets thoroughly embarrassed every time she has a conservative on. Every single time. Tom Homan, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance completely humiliated her. She's clearly not very bright. But here Tom Homan is Tom Homan is addressing this, and I'm not going to play the whole segment. I think is like 8 to 10 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just this one particular segment I want to get to, because it's perfect. Tom Homan, as usual, goes full Tom Homan on Margaret Brennan. Check it out.
Said a 2-year-old American citizen child had been sent to Honduras with the mother, who was deported. But the judge said, quote, there was no meaningful process. So again, this is another similar situation and dynamic. Shouldn't there be special care when these deportation cases involve small American-born children?
Well, first of all, I disagree with the judge. There was due process. That female had due process at great taxpayer expense and was ordered by the immigration judge after those hearings. So she had due process. Again, this is parenting 101. You can decide to take that child with you, or you can decide to leave the child here with a relative or another spouse. Having a U.S. citizen child doesn't make you immune from our laws of the country. American families get separated every day by law enforcement. Thousands of times a day when a parent gets put in jail, the child can't go with them. These, if you're an illegal alien, come to this country, and you decide to have a U.S. citizen child, that's on you. You put yourself in that position.
Well, when it came to this particular case, you just pointed out that they could have made arrangements. The father tried, actually, to make arrangements, as we understand it through our reporting. But he and the mother, who were separated since she was in detention after showing up for her appointment, was only allowed a very brief phone call. The father tried to petition to get the child handed over to an American citizen relative. So the mother had to make this decision and took the child with her. It just seems like there could be some more time frame here around due process allowed. That's what the judge is saying there should have been more of a process here.
There was due process. The 2-year-old baby was left with the mother because the mother signed a document requesting her 2-year-old baby go with her. That's the parent's decision. I don't think the judge knows specifics of this case. 2-year-old went with the mom. The mom signed a paper saying, I want my 2-year-old to go with me. That's a parent's decision. It's not a government decision. It's a parent's decision.
The father wrote a note. Anyhow, we have to leave.
Anyway, There's another clip. I'm not gonna get into it, but there's another clip where they're talking about a child with cancer, and that child also left with the mother, and allegedly there was no arrangements made for treatment or medications or things like that. I'm not sure I buy that. I'm really not sure I buy that. I want to see some actual evidence that there was no regard given for the child's cancer, if the child even had cancer. Okay. Because who without any evidence, how do we know that even happened? How do we know that the child has cancer? I mean, it's insane. But let me I just want to emphasize, the point that journalism is dead and is a rotting, stinking corpse. I mean, where's Negan when you need him, right? And I'm sure you'll get the Walking Dead reference. I hope you do anyway. But just like I said, just to emphasize the point that journalism is dead, take a look at this report. And this report came out a couple of years ago, came out in 2023. And it is an indictment against the Biden administration. This is from UCLA Law and the UCLA Center for Immigration Law and Policy. And it says, "No fair day. Damning new report reveals the Biden administration's unlawful treatment of children in immigration courts." Interesting. While the administration should be lauded for its efforts to provide children and families access to court systems, its failure to ensure legal representation has produced a massive due process crisis. Now, it seems to me that if journalists were worth anything, they would have picked up on this report 2 years ago, especially considering all the noise they're making now about due process. It seems to me that this would have been something they would have taken a massive interest in, right? It should be obvious that immigration court proceedings are far too complex for children to navigate without legal representation, especially when the consequences are so dire. The Biden administration must take swift action to ensure legal representation for all children in immigration court. Wow. So kids were just tossed in front of a judge with no representation. And don't forget, these were children that came across the border with somebody claiming to be their parents. May or may not have been, but we don't know. And then they were just left alone. So the obvious conclusion is that they weren't their parents. Under the Biden administration, as in past administrations, children are ordered to appear in immigration court against trained government prosecutors, even if they have no lawyer to represent them. This is true despite the fact that the legal avenues most often available to children to remain safe are most often available for children to remain safely in the United States. Asylum and special immigration juvenile status are among the most complex in the immigration system. And if children fail to appear, they are ordered removed in absentia, even if they have no control over whether they were able to come to court. That to me seems like something far more egregious than anything that has happened under the Trump administration. BZ is in the chat. Thanks, BZ. Glad to see you. And if you want to get on the chat, the best place to do that is on YouTube, where we have chat available on Facebook and the other platforms. But the one that I'm most able to see and respond to is the YouTube chat. So feel free to to hop on in and tell me I'm completely wrong or agree with me. Either way, I'll be happy. But I mean, this is journalistic malpractice, because what is happening in the Trump administration compared to what happened with this and the Biden administration, I mean, it's like night and day. Night and day. And you didn't hear a peep, not a peep about this from the American Pravda back in 2023 and 2024. BZ says, isn't it odd, after 100 plus years of children separated from parents as a result of arrests, on only now is it an issue, which says that the Democrats and leftists only care about illegal invaders. Well, yeah, obviously. I think we've all known, anyone paying attention anyway, has known for a long time that all they care about is illegal invaders, because they're the ones that are going to be future voters for the Democrats. So yeah, journalism is completely dead, and walking among us in those rotting bags of flesh and bones and stinking up the joint. All right, let's move on. I want to get to this story, and there's a few other ones I want to get to. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Last time we were together, we talked about California and how they were engaging in heinous acts of violating our Second Amendment rights, our constitutional rights. And now we're going to go across the country to Connecticut. And Connecticut just passed a bill called, the Connecticut Assembly, the House, passed a bill called An Act Concerning Implementation of the Firearm Industry Responsibility Act. Yeah. So you can only, I'm sure you can imagine how bad this is going to be. The purpose of this bill, the only purpose of this bill, is to infringe on your rights. That's it. That's all it is. They do not want you to be able to defend yourself with a firearm. And one of the key components of this bill is that it allows for victims, and we've already been through this before with the PLCAA and all the challenges to that. But this bill allows for victims of violence committed with a firearm to sue the gun manufacturers, the gun dealers, and distributors if they don't enforce what they deem reasonable controls to prevent unlawful firearm use. How does that make any sense? Are there any bills being put forth to allow for people to sue knife manufacturers when they get stabbed? Or car manufacturers when somebody plows into a crowd of people, which has been happening with more and more frequency lately? Of course not. Of course not. But of course, reasonable controls. And they don't define reasonable. That's the nebulous term that they leave out there, so that anything that they deem going forward can be reasonable, and you could end up in violation of those reasonable controls. And one of the things that they put in here, this stuff is already illegal. Just like in California, this stuff is already legal. This bill is aimed at preventing straw purchases, already illegal. Blocking sales to prohibited persons, selling a gun to a prohibited person is already illegal. Avoiding irresponsible or dangerous marketing tactics. Well, who's to say what a dangerous marketing tactic is? Well, as far as they're concerned, I'm sure dangerous marketing tactic means marketing at all. Honestly, what else could it be? And I mean, you don't see commercials for firearm companies on television. Yeah, you might see one on Newsmax or Fox or OAN, but they're marketing to people who are already likely to make a purchase of a firearm, who are already law-abiding citizens who probably already have firearms. But one of the other things that this bill does is just like what they're doing in California. There's language in this bill to block the sale of Glocks. And let's take a look at that, because if this passes in California, it is very likely to pass in Connecticut. And that could have a cascading effect. Now, there are, I believe, 26 or 27 states right now that have constitutional carry, which means permitless carry, and some variation of that. Obviously, mostly in the South, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and a number of other states. Like I said, there's 26 of them. But these people, they hate the Constitution. They absolutely hate the Constitution because it's not written like most other state constitutions of other countries, where it restricts the people. Our Constitution restricts the government, and they absolutely hate that. They absolutely hate it. And let's take a look at this provision right here, because, and then, like I said, it's just like the provision of the bill in California. This bill will prevent the sale or distribution in this state of a firearm industry product that is designed in a manner that is reasonably foreseeable to promote conversion of a legal firearm industry product into an illegal firearm industry product. That's even broader than what they're doing in California, because this is going to prevent the sale of pretty much every semi-automatic rifle as well as Glocks. They hate the idea of you being able to protect yourself. I tell the story all the time about how I had a conversation with somebody and was talking about how if you live out in a rural area and it takes a sheriff's deputy 20 minutes to get to you and somebody's breaking into your house with the intent to kill you, why is it so bad for you to have a firearm to protect yourself? This person believed that nobody should have guns except the police. And when I brought that up, this person said, well, if it's your time, it's your time, and you can't fight it. What? And one of this person's parent was a police officer. Yeah. So these people have thoroughly brainwashed a lot of leftists into believing that guns are bad, that being able to protect yourself is bad. That if you can't depend on the police to defend yourself, well then, sorry about your bad luck. What is that? Who thinks that way? And this person I had this conversation with had children that presumably they would want to protect by any means necessary. Just unbelievable. And yet thoroughly believable from these people. So this bill excuse me, this bill bans Glocks. That's right. They get protection, but no one else does, like politicians and judges. That's right, BZ. I mean, it's really unbelievable. That conversation was unbelievable. But anyway, this bill, the people who have put forth this bill, they say that it closes dangerous loopholes. Whenever somebody breaks a law that's already on the books, they call it a loophole. So they want to make it illegaler, as if making it even more illegal is going to stop somebody from breaking the law that they already broke. It promotes, they say it promotes corporate responsibility in the gun industry, blah, blah, blah. And they, as always, they claim that it reduces gun violence. No bill that these people have ever proposed does what they say it's going to do. None of these bills have ever prevented gun violence, nor are they really designed to. They're designed for one reason and one reason only, and that is to restrict your rights. That's it. That's it. And of course, what's going to happen is, we've already seen it happen. We've already seen people who commit crimes end up paying the price for committing that crime, try to sue the government, try to sue the police, try to sue the person who stopped them from committing that crime. We've seen this happen already where they try to sue. And this is going to open the door for that in Connecticut. This bill, if it passes the Connecticut Senate, is going to go. Obviously, the leftist governor of Connecticut is going to sign. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but if it passes the Connecticut Senate, which it is likely to, it's going to go to the governor's desk and he will sign it, and it will go into effect on October 1st of this year. So if you live in Connecticut, you need to call your senators and your congressmen. Well, it's already through the House, so it's too late for that. But call your senators and tell them to vote no on this, because this is a serious affront to the Constitution. And it'll get challenged. I'm sure Gun Owners of America and all the other groups that are out there are going to challenge it. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in that challenge. Chances are it's going to go to the First Circuit, which will uphold it. And then by the time it makes it to the Supreme Court, we don't even know if they would take it up, frankly. They have been reluctant to take up any Second Amendment cases. I think I talked about this the last time. They'll take up a really big landmark case like Heller and a few others, and then they won't take up any more for years until there's another landmark case that they have to weigh in on. BZ says Ned Lamont is the Connecticut governor. Yeah, he's going to sign it. He's going to sign it. Anyway, y'all, we got a lot more I want to get to. Spend a little more time on those two stories than I thought I would. But right now we are going to have a word from our sponsor. And when we get back, when we're done with that, we're going to talk about Donald Trump. And oh yeah, I'm sure some people are going to get triggered by this. They already have, actually. They already have, and it's been glorious to watch. But our sponsor for today's show is Girl, my beautiful wife's company. And fellas, you really need to check out Carry Girl, because you will find some of the coolest, best designs on some of the highest quality t-shirts that are available. And with Mother's Day coming up, Mother's Day is, I believe it's this coming Sunday. With Mother's Day coming up, you really want to get your orders in as soon as possible. The best thing to do at this point is probably a gift certificate, so that your wife or your girlfriend can order her own stuff. Because yeah, Mother's Day is on Sunday. There's a very strong possibility that it won't get there in time. So please head over to Carry Girl to check out all the great designs on the t-shirts. We have drinkware, hats, and all kinds of other accessories that your wife or your girlfriend will absolutely love. And as I said, check out the possibility of getting a gift certificate and letting her pick out her own stuff, because at this point, if you haven't gotten a gift, you're probably too late. And if you're too late, you will pay the price. So visit carrygirl.com and check out all the great designs and the gift certificates, and visit carrygirl.com today. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you're watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch Sackhead Sean with The Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. The Reaver of Common Sense, Jersey Joe, every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ, who's in the chat, thanks BZ, with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. So please follow all those guys, like and subscribe to their shows, subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. We're 43 away, I believe. I believe the last time I looked, we were 43 away from 500. Please share all of these videos. Share them with everyone you know. We want to make sure that we get the word out to all of the people, as many people as we possibly can. And pray for us as well. Before you follow us and share everything, pray for us that we have a huge breakthrough this year, and so we can reach all the people that we're trying to reach. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And I said before the break that we were going to talk about Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has made, well, he's always making waves. He is a master troll. He is an absolute master troll. And it's so fun. It's so fun to watch. I mean, just anyway, before I get too far afield, I want you to see this, because this is absolutely hilarious. And I know a lot of people got offended by it and stuff like that, but this is just hilarious. Trump, he posted a picture of himself obviously AI generated picture of himself as the Pope. And the left lost their ever loving minds. And it's it's really quite hilarious because he knows how predictable they are. He knows what their reaction is going to be. And he does it anyway. And of course, they follow right along. They fall right along. And then he posted a picture. I don't have it up, but he posted a picture of himself as a posted a picture of himself as a Sith wielding a red lightsaber. And of course, this was on May the 4th, Star Wars Day. And of course, Harry Sissy Girl Pants, Harry Sisson, and a bunch of other people posted that the White House posting this picture of Donald Trump wielding a red lightsaber was them admitting that he was evil, because only the Sith, and if you're not a Star Wars nerd, then this is going over your head, but if you're not a Sith, only the Sith wield red lightsabers. I mean, it's just stupid. It's absolutely stupid, because he knows that they're going to latch on to anything he says, anything he does, and run with it and look like the complete fools that they are. They are complete fools. Trump has broken so many leftist brains. It is ridiculous. And he was not making fun of Catholics with this picture. He was trolling the left. He was absolutely trolling the left because, like I said, he knew what their reaction was going to be. And let's not forget, this guy created a task force to combat anti-Christian bigotry in government. That's not somebody who's going to be making fun of Catholics or Christians in any kind of way. This was pointed completely at the left. I mean, Trump has publicly stated many times that he believes that God saved him that day in Butler, Pennsylvania, because he believes that he has work to do to help bring this country back. And I happen to believe that as well. So this was not in any way making fun of Catholics or Christians at all. But the left lost their minds when he did that. But they had no problem. They were completely silent when this happened. When a bunch of trannies got together and mock reenacted the Last Supper, that was no big deal. That was no big deal. When we know for a fact that they were making fun of Christians. But no biggie. No big deal at all. And of course, there's this. Where'd it go? Yeah, this right here. People who've been following me know that I used to still do refer to Fauci as Saint Fauci the Fraudulent. And he has a picture, a candle depicting himself as Jesus or as a saint of some kind. Look at that. And if you remember when all the COVID stuff was going on and he was all over all the news outlets, the American Pravda outlets, he had pictures of himself in the background of his shots when he was doing these hits from his house. Because this is how he sees himself. He sees himself as a saint. And but nobody said anything about that when it was going on. Of course. So you can believe what you want. I don't believe he was making fun of Catholics or Christians. I believe that he is sincere in his belief, as sincere as a baby Christian could be. I think he needs to spend more time in Scripture, and a lot of complaints that made medical assistance in dying. And there is a Canadian father who is fighting the Canadian government to prevent them from killing his 28-year-old daughter. His 28-year-old daughter has been diagnosed with autism and ADHD. She has no terminal illnesses, no physical suffering, but yet she was accepted into the MAID program up there and was scheduled to be put to death. And her father was able to petition the courts up there to stop it, but it's not looking so good for him right now. There were 2 doctors who approved this young woman's application for MAID. And the last physician, the last doctor to review her application took less than 24 hours before he approved it. Now, I don't know. I mean, I'm just completely against the whole idea. The whole thing is just ghoulish, gross, evil, and should not be happening. She's 28 years old and she's been diagnosed with autism and ADHD. Why? Now, I'm sure she has some, or I'm not. I won't say I'm sure. She probably has some other mental issues that are causing her to want to go through with this. But the government's job is to protect its people. And a young woman suffering from a mental illness, and I'm not saying that autism and ADHD are mental illnesses at all, but there is something else going on to make her feel like this is the route she needs to take. It's unbelievable to me. Now, her father was able to get an injunction to delay the procedure, but there is a distinct possibility that he may lose because a judge ruled in favor of the daughter, saying that her legal autonomy and the legality of the medical process were paramount. Unbelievable. Now, obviously, her father believes that she is vulnerable and unable to completely understand that this decision is permanent, that this is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And his argument, as I just said, is that the government should be protecting people like her. Canada has been putting perfectly healthy people to death for a while, claiming that it's their autonomy, it's their decision. Well, if that's the decision you want to make, then there's a deeper issue going on that needs to be addressed, and it can't be addressed if you're dead. Stories like this. Unbelievable. Critics, people who are against this, among their other arguments, say that it's a slippery slope where more and more people with less and less severe issues will get pushed towards suicide because it's their decision. It's their bodily autonomy. And people who commit suicide, obviously, people who commit suicide outside of a doctor's office, I don't want to say they have that right, but that is where the bodily autonomy thing, I don't even want to say it's more reasonable. It's suicide is never the answer. Let's just leave it at that. Suicide is never the answer. Prayer and faith in Jesus Christ will help solve all of those problems. And I'm going to be praying for this father and his daughter, and I hope you all do too, because this is barbaric. This is ghoulish. This is unbelievable. All right, y'all. I got a few other stories I want to get to, and I don't even know if I'm going to get to them all. Jen Psaki, we may end up going longer because I really want to get to these things because I think they're important. Jen Psaki did an interview with Semaphore the other day, and it was a 45-minute interview. I did watch the whole thing, but the clip that stood out most to me and stood out most to pretty much everybody is when she talked about propaganda. When she talked about Caroline Leavitt, a current press secretary, being a propagandist for President Trump. And of course, that is the ultimate in the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, come on.
What do you make of Carolyn? Like, do you know her? Have you ever talked?
No, I don't know her. I think if the totality of the job, and it's part of the job, that's an important part of the job, was somebody who was good on television, which she is, who could command the room, which she can. And there are a lot of press secretaries, Democrats and Republicans, who can't do that and can be eaten alive by that room. If the totality of it was that, and just speaking what was on the mind of your boss, then yeah, she should get good marks for that. That's not the totality of the job.
What's the other part?
The other part of the job is speaking honestly and candidly about the issues that are happening in the country and providing actual useful information to people. And what she's doing is she is just projecting the view of Donald Trump. That's part of it. It's not the only part. And I also think that, I mean, she's a person who goes out there on a regular basis and projects propaganda points, right? What I would consider propaganda points. I know the right wing says that about me, but that is just not the same, guys.
So what's the difference?
The difference is she is projecting things like, no, we didn't illegally deport anyone. You didn't? I mean, the courts just said you did, you know? I mean, she is projecting, you know, oh, Elon Musk is accomplishing his goal. He is? Well, he is.
But wait a
1%
second, you had your share of underperforming whatever normal stuff, underperforming cabinet members say, and somebody says, is so-and-so doing a good job? You never went up and said, no, like he's kind of screwing it up.
Ben, I don't watch her briefing, honestly. I see clips of it, but I don't think any human being who's being objective would say that I did the same thing that she is doing.
No, I agree.
The president has said, and you have tweeted, that allegations of wrongdoing based on files pulled from Hunter Biden's laptop are Russian disinformation. There's a new book by a Politico reporter that finds some of the files on there are genuine. Is the White House still going with Russian disinformation?
I think it's broadly known and widely known, Peter, that there was a broad range of Russian disinformation back in 2020.
And the second question is, my colleague Miranda Devine has a new book out called The Laptop from Hell. And I was hoping that you could confirm that the laptop is indeed authentic and not Russian disinformation, as you seemed to suggest on Twitter last year.
Well, on the first, the president's son is not an employee of the federal government, so I'd point you to his representatives. And as it relates to the book, I've neither had the time nor interest in exploring or reading the book.
Peppermint Patty. She is the ultimate propagandist. She is the ultimate propagandist. Some people might say that Cringe Jean-Pierre was, but she was just stupid. Peppermint Patty, she's not a genius by any stretch, but she wasn't anywhere near as dim-witted as KJP. And do we even really need to talk about the COVID propaganda? All of which that she was spouting from the podium, all of which has been proven false at this point. Everything that they ever said about COVID has been proven false. Every conspiracy theory has now been shown to be conspiracy fact. All right, let's see. We got about 6 minutes left. I think we might be able to get it all in, maybe not. President Trump, he had an interview with Meet the Press, Kristin Welker. And as is his habit these days, he just completely, thoroughly humiliated Kristin Welker again. And yeah, there were 3 clips I wanted to show, but I don't think we're going to be able to get to them all. But there was one question, and the one I really wanted is the one I don't have up. But one of the questions, and I encourage you to take a look at the entire interview, because it was a complete beatdown. Despite all the propaganda from the American Pravda about how Trump said he didn't know if something was constitutional, but of course they cut it off right then. They cut it off right when he said he didn't know, and didn't allow the full context of the clip to be shown, to where he explained everything. And as far as I'm concerned, he was right to defer to his lawyers in that situation. But Kristin Welker asked him a question, And I really wish I had it up, but I don't. But she asked him a question, something along the lines of, what do you say to your critics who say that you're leading us down an authoritarian path? Okay. An authoritarian path, really. That's where she's going to go. Because the people that she's shilling for, they're the ones who want to tell you whether or not a baby should live or die. They're the ones who want to tell you how much money you should earn. They're the ones who want to tell you what energy source you should use. They're the ones who want to tell you what light bulbs you should use. They're the ones who want to tell you what words you can say. Of course, they're letting all kinds of words fly these days. These are the people who want to tell you what you can do, what they can do to your kids without your permission. These are the people who want to tell you how you must refer to other people because of what they say, because of what they claim to identify as. And these are the people who want to tell you whether or not you can own a gun. But President Trump is leading us down an authoritarian path. These people are absolutely ridiculous. All right, we got time for one more. And this one is just, I really couldn't believe what I was seeing when I saw this. CNN, who some people are now referring to as the China News Network, and I think that's pretty appropriate. They platformed a cartel member.
I mean, according to the Trump administration, you are a terrorist. I mean, the cartels have been labeled a foreign terrorist organization. What do you make of that?
Está fea la situación, ¿verdad? Está fea la situación, pero pues de todos modos tenemos que comer.
What's your message to Donald Trump if he's watching this?
Mis respetos, él tiene que según él, buscar lo mejor para los suyos. Pero el detalle que ya están los consumidores, ¿no? Si no hubiera consumidores, pues uno le parara.
There is a lot of violence playing out on these streets here at the moment every day, right? I mean, people are dying on a daily basis. Children are afraid to go to school. Do you have any sense of remorse over your role and your involvement in this group?
Claro que sí. Claro que sí. Claro que sí. Pues está triste la cosa, pero pues está triste la cosa, pero está temblando mucho esta madre.
His phone is pinging. Someone is nearby. He tells us we need to leave for our own safety.
Why are they platforming cartel members? BZ says, because it's very important to listen to what cartel terrorists have to say, according to leftists. I mean, of course, I know you're right, but it's just, and I don't know if you caught this, but she looked absolutely terrified. She looked absolutely terrified doing that interview. I'm not really sympathetic, honestly. What value does interviewing a cartel terrorist bring to CNN, to anyone? Can anyone tell me what value that added to anything? Just pathetic. Like I said, as the theme of this show, journalism is dead. Journalism is completely, thoroughly, unequivocally dead. Anyway, folks, that's all I got for you this time. I will try to do better on the next one. Please forgive some of the technical issues. It's storming here in Texas, and some of the audio issues that we were having. But like I said, I will try to do better the next time. But please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, share these videos, share these episodes to everyone that you know, because we want to continue to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and the message of hope and liberty to as many as we possibly can, because we want to preserve what we have for future generations. And also, if you like the shirt I'm wearing, it's the Helmet of Salvation design. Head over to missionreadymen.com, shop 7 Armors, and check out this design and all the other great designs that we have over there. Thanks, BZ. Appreciate it. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.